You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chillson, and this is my review for Captain America Brave New World. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. Captain America Brave New World is a 2025 comic book adaptation action film that serves as the fourth film in the ongoing Captain America franchise within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sam Wilson finds himself in the middle of an international incident after meeting the new president, Thaddeus Ross. He must soon discover the reason of a nefarious plot before the true mastermind has the entire world seeing red. The film stars Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, Danny Ramirez, Shira Haas, Giancarlo Esposito, Tim Blake Nelson, and Carl Lumbly. So we finally have our first film with Sam Wilson taking up that mantle there as our new Captain America. Now, we got to see him come to terms with that in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Obviously, we got to see Steve Rogers hand off the shield in Avengers Endgame. We got the new digs, the new fit in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but we haven't really got to see him step into the role of Captain America. So I was very, very excited for this film just for that reason alone. And honestly, I thought the trailers looked pretty good. So while everybody else seemed to be pretty down on Cap 4 heading in, I was pretty excited. And ultimately, I think Brave New World is good. It is serviceable. I had a good enough time with this film. It wasn't as great as I was hoping. I don't think it's really proving the haters wrong in any way, but I also don't think it's quite a disaster. It's not the worst of the MCU. I was just hoping maybe we'd start Sam Wilson's tenure off as Captain America on the big screen with a stronger beginning. But let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, for the most part, I actually think our acting cast is fantastic. Anthony Mackie is wonderful in this film. I think he has fully embraced Sam Wilson as a character, as a persona. I think he really connects with Sam and the plight he's in here. It's a great extension from Falcon and Winter Soldier on his character arc and journey, and he nails it. Danny Ramirez, I love you. I need to see you in more things because he's also fantastic. He has so much charisma, and I love the chemistry between Mackie and Ramirez. To my surprise, Harrison Ford was really good here as well. I fully anticipated heading into this movie theater that he was just going to phone it in. This is like a comic book movie. Harrison Ford, at his advanced age, he's already over most of this mess. But no, he didn't. I thought he actually gave a very strong performance, honestly. But really, the standout for me, kind of like Falcon and Winter Soldier once again, was Carl Lumbly. Isaiah Bradley represents such an interesting aspect to Black history, particularly here in the United States. I loved the episode that really featured him in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I'm so happy they brought him back for this film and gave him something to do. He killed it. Like his scenes are some of the most impactful in the entire film, and it's all down to the performance. He's so good. And honestly, I could have watched an entire film of just Sam Torres and Isaiah Bradley riffing off of each other, training together, being around each other, because honestly, those were pretty much my favorite scenes of the film. I did like the political allegories for the most part. Until we get near the end, and then that really falls apart for me personally. But I like that we're going back to more of a Winter Soldier feeling overall with this film. It's definitely nowhere near as good or well executed as Winter Soldier was, but we're going back to those kind of roots within the MCU. A political thriller. We're trying to solve this mystery. It's like legs on the ground, and it's a lot of fun when it gets that aspect right. And I also loved the original score. I thought the score was so good and added so much energy to some moments that were severely lacking it otherwise. And I have to say, I actually enjoyed the character arc for Thaddeus Ross, played by Harrison Ford. I didn't anticipate or know we were going to go this deep into like the Incredible Hulk lore and go back to that because the MCU by and large until like what She-Hulk they tried to forget that even happened. So for them to suddenly just drop in and say, "Oh, hey, remember our like very first movie? Remember that one way, way back in 2008? Yeah, we're gonna go back to that actually and pick up where we left off. But I actually thought it felt really organic, even though pretty much most of the actors are different now. Nobody's played by the same character. Nobody's played by the same actors they did in the Incredible Hulk itself. I thought the continuity still worked and had some good payoff. So then, what didn't work so well when it came to Brave New World? Well, I think there are too many subplots. There's too much being juggled here. If this were just a really straightforward, lean, mean political thriller set against the new Captain America that already has politics thrust upon it, whether it's by the film's choice, whether it's by the character's choice or not. The world has already decided that. So if they had just really honed in on that and narrowed in on being a strong political thriller, this would have been so much stronger for it, and I think I would have loved it. Instead, we have an overarching mystery that has all these mini mysteries in it. The whole Giancarlo Esposito subplot, I think we could have went around that. We didn't need a whole extra villain in him to get that story moving. Then we have the subplot with Isaiah Bradley and what's going on with him. We have the subplot with the actual president and what's going on with him. We have character development for all of these different characters. This agent, Captain Israel, who is almost pointless in the film. If we're being honest, she probably could have been cut altogether and likely should have been cut altogether. And then we have our actual villain played by Tim Blake Nelson. Now, I think he gives a solid performance, and the makeup is kind of cool, but I found this to be another weak MCU villain. I couldn't care less really about what was happening with him, what his motives were, what we were doing with all of this. It felt like a much weaker version of Zemo from Civil War. So in a lot of ways, this actually mirrors Falcon and Winter Soldier in the fact that it just throws up too many sub-villains and subplots and doesn't land them properly. It's also, unfortunately, one of the ugliest MCU films. This really doubles down on all of the negatives we have for the look of the MCU. The third act has some laughably bad blue screen CGI, where Anthony Mackie is standing there and you know that he is in a blue room. Nothing around him. It looks ooh, horrible. But even the other CGI really doesn't look good. I think the entire budget went to either like airplane fights, which look pretty good, and the Red Hulk, which admittedly looks very good. As a lot of this other stuff looked wonky, it didn't look great, and sometimes even looked downright bad. We had that overly bright, kind of yucky cinematography that the MCU has become, well, infamous for. It's just not a very good looking film. And then, yeah, that political messaging. So it starts okay, and I think it actually starts pretty strong and gives us a nice base. But oh my gosh, it loses all of its teeth and it completely just abandons any sort of actual viewpoint by the end. And that was very, very disappointing. And while I think we have a lot of really fun appearances and cool callbacks throughout the film, this one requires a lot of homework and some pretty recent rewatches. If you thought the Marvels required you to watch a lot, I think we're really getting into territory where some people are just going to have no idea anymore because you need to have watched, obviously, the Infinity Saga. You need to know who Captain America now is. Then you need to have watched Falcon and Winter Soldier to know about Isaiah Bradley and what's going on about Danny Ramirez's character Torres. He gets introduced there about where these characters are in their lives. And even at that, one character I did not know we were headed down that path, and I'll be interested to see how we get there later on as they go into another film. But we'll leave that at that. But as stated before, you also need to revisit The Incredible Hulk. Yes, the one starring Edward Norton as the Hulk before Mark Ruffalo took over, because this is pretty much serving as more or less a direct sequel to that film. Everything to do with Thaddeus Ross is directly a consequence and sequel to The Incredible Hulk. So there's just so much you have to know and have to have seen for this to have any sort of weight or stakes, honestly. So overall, Captain America Brave New World was unfortunately quite the mixed bag for me. For every big, fun action set piece, there was a very long lull where I found my mind wandering, waiting to get to the next scene already. For every great character moment and wonderful acting performance, we got Captain Israel, which to me was just kind of a fail. Acting, character, plot, the whole ordeal. For every interesting political stance, it all gets undone by the end to kind of fall on neutral ears. Unfortunately, Captain America Brave New World just isn't able to capitalize on all of the strengths it has at the base and delivers a pretty safe, lukewarm, serviceable start to the Sam Wilson era of Captain America. So if you're an MCU fan, I think there's enough here for you to enjoy. Obviously, you already know, stay all the way to the end of the credits. There's only one, but it is an actual post-credit sequence, no mid-credits. But you have to watch it, right? We're getting on board. We're starting to assemble this new team and move forward. So this is definitely a full price ticket. I think it's entertaining enough for that. However, if you've grown tired of the MCU, if you think the shtick is old, if you're done with the comic book thing, Brave New World is certainly not going to change your mind on that. And honestly, unfortunately, is going to reinforce a lot of those negative opinions. So that was my review for Captain America Brave New World. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Have you checked out Captain America Brave New World? What did you think? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.